World Cup of Hockey. So we've got to put on the nationality coats again and all that. But in general, what do you look forward to from this event?
It's going to be an interesting event. The hard part is it's a round robin. You play 3 games and 2 teams are going home. So you in the Olympics or the World Championships that I've been fortunate enough to be part of, you can wade your way in. You can have a bad game. You can find the right combinations. What we're going to do is have 3 exhibition games to find those combinations, but you can't have a bad game in this tournament or you're gone. So the quickness of the importance of the game is going to be very interesting. Also, I think you're going to have that world team and that under-23 team. That's going to be really interesting to see. But as a Canadian, we're excited to be in Toronto, to train in Ottawa, then to go into Toronto. I think it's a hockey mad market, and the players are going to be at their best physically. They're coming off of summer training where they've let all the aches and pains go away, and they're going to get up and running very quick, and excited for the level of hockey that's going to be there.
What do you anticipate intensity-wise?
If you go back to the previous World Cups, the intensity gets there pretty quick. Quite honestly, there's 23 players on each team, and there's 3 exhibition games. So a player like Alex Pietrangelo or Sidney Crosby or any other national team player, they're not going to play exhibition games the way they do here. Like we have back-to-back exhibition games a week in a training camp. These guys wouldn't never play in those games. So you're hoping to get through those healthy. And when I talked to the guys back in the last World Cup and even the one that the Americans won in the 90s, it was a war. Everybody wants to sort of make their mark early in this tournament. So you're going to ask these guys to play back-to-back nights, and I think the intensity is going to be very high in those exhibition games against the Americans. I don't think either side's going to wade in, and I think people are going to want to be making their marks on how this tournament's going to go. So I think it's going to be a high intensity, and I think the friendships are going to go away pretty quickly.
Well, and it does pit teammate against teammate. What does it mean for the St. Louis Blues to have the different players that Blues fans are going to get to see involved in this tournament?
Well, I think anytime you can play with the best players, it's a learning experience. I think that these guys are going to come into the start of the regular season at top condition and top. Their mind's going to be ready to play. And also, I think it's a credit to our amateur scouting staff and our pro scouting staff to put these guys out there. We have a large number of players playing on a whole host of countries. So I think it's a credit to this organization and our scouting staff to have been able to find the proper players, and I think it's going to be really good. I know that Alexander Steen's really disappointed he can't play this year, but I know there's other players that are really excited about the opportunities.
What about a young guy like Colton Parayko getting a taste of something like this on that young team?
Well, he came in last year and he was certainly wasn't on their radar screen for this team, and then at the end they just couldn't keep him off. They have a very good right side of that defense, that young team. They got Ekblad and Jones and Trouba, so he's going to have to go in there and in training camp prove that he's better than one of those guys to maintain a regular roster spot. But I've seen him training this summer. He's in unbelievable shape. I think he's ready to go, and I think the world might see what we've been able to see this year, that's a pretty special young player.
How does the World Cup, though, impact the fluidity of training camp here in St. Louis as this team gets ready for a new season?
Well, it's not going to have the effect that we think, because half the teams are eliminated before training camp really starts. So you're looking at probably the final 2 teams. You might have 1 or 2 or 3 players on those teams combined. So we'll be back up and running quickly. Also, when that tournament's over, we still have another week left. So it's not ideal, I would say, for the coaches' perspective to get your top players united with each other to find that chemistry. But there's way more benefits than there are problems. And as I said, hopefully Alex isn't one of them, but there are going to be some guys coming back early.
That is a scenario too, though, where not only because of the delay to when those guys will be coming in, but because of the changes that the St. Louis Blues have had, both from a coaching standpoint and an on-ice standpoint, that does add a couple of additional factors to that adjustment period coming in.
Yeah, it does, and probably from just a Blues perspective, this isn't a great year for this tournament because of the changes. Anytime you have a new captain, there's that building that relationship with the teammates, and so there are certain things that, you know, maybe for a team that's established like we were the last 4 years, we're just opening the door. Everybody knows everybody, just get up and running. We're not the same group now. We have new coaches, we have new players, and we're going to need time to come together and understand each other. But as I said, these guys are going to be back relatively quickly into camp, and we have a nice Western road trip early in the season, which we can get together and do some of those things that are important to building a really strong bond.
The challenge starts a little bit earlier this year because the World Cup of Hockey is going to have some players of yours, including key pieces of your leadership group, out of the dressing room come training camp. How does that impact the opening of this season?
Well, if they come back healthy, you got a loaded up player. You got a player who's at a higher level of competition than he's ever been at. It's similar to the Olympics. When the Olympic players came back, they were a little bit tired, but their level was at another level that was completely different from when they left, because they were mentally engaged, thinking at a higher level, because the competition they were in was much higher than any regular season game. So our hope is that everybody comes back healthy and they come back engaged, like I know this competition is going to make them have to perform at. And so for us, this is a win. As long as they come back healthy and in good shape physically, we're going to get some really sharp guys, because there's still going to be enough time to get ready for the season. There's still going to be enough room to get ready to play mentally and physically. But we have a chance, especially with some of the young guys that are going to play, to get some really engaged players that are going to help us even more than they did last year.
A young guy like a Colton Parayko, what an experience this could be for him, huh?
Well, him, Yaskin, all these guys, like this is really going to help these younger guys.
What do you anticipate the intensity of that tournament to be like?
I've said this to people before, Chris. It's the best hockey in the world. It's better than the Olympics because all the players are rested. They get all this practice time. There's more practices before you play your first game than we had in the whole Olympic experience, period. And you're going to get teams focused, ready, and locked and loaded. You just can't not watch this type of hockey, because from an intensity level, from a competitive one-on-one level, this is as good as it gets.